Hello everybody, my name is Mitch and today we're going over Font versus Garbrandt full card fight predictions. It takes place on May 22nd. If you're new here, we go over the full card fight predictions first and then we'll talk about the reasons why. So let's go ahead and get started with the picks here. We have Damir Ismagulov, Bruno Silva, Ricardo Ramos, Claudio Silva, Damir Hadzovic, Sarah Alpbar, Joshua Kolibao, Justin Tafa Rodrigo, Nacimiento, David Dvorak, Felicia Spencer, Xiaonan Yan, and Rob Font. Those are my picks, and let's go ahead and get into the reasons why. Here are the glorious odds for UFC Fight Night 188, brought to you by bestfightodds.com. Now down here at the bottom, Felicia Spencer is fighting Norma Dumont. Ignore this Felicia Spencer Danielle Wolf fight. Those are the odds. Rafael Alves versus Damir Ismagulov. On the UFC website, it said that this fight is taking place on UFC 262. On Tapology, it said Font versus Garbrandt. At any rate, I did talk about this in another video, and I'll leave a link to that in the description if you want to check that out. In short, I do like Damir Ismagulov and the tear he's been on in the UFC so far. I'm going with Damir. Victor Rodriguez versus Bruno Silva. Victor Rodriguez lost his UFC debut to Adrian Yanez, which is not a bad loss at all, although I don't know too much about any of these organizations. I've seen this Alaska FC a lot on previous fighters' resumes, but I just don't know what it's about. Blood, sweat, and beers, that's interesting. On Bruno Silva's side, we see that he's coming off of a nice win against JP Buys. I think he was quite the underdog in that one, actually, probably due to the back-to-back losses. I know that he trains with Henry Cejudo, so I'm going to side with Henry Cejudo on this one. He's a champion. He knows how to win. I'm going with Bruno Silva through affiliation with Triple C. Ricardo Ramos versus Bill Aggio, another fight that I'd already done in the Whittaker versus Gastelum card where this fight was initially going to take place. In short, I do like Ricardo Ramos here. I think this fight's going to be mostly stand-up, and with that I like Ricardo Ramos to honestly kind of dominate standing up. I'm interested to see how it goes, but I am leaning Ricardo Ramos for this fight. Claudio Silva versus Court McGee. In Claudio Silva's last fight, he lost to James Krause. Before that, he was on quite the win streak, we can see. In this fight, he was going for takedowns, but he just wasn't able to get James Krause down, or if he wasn't able to control him well enough. I think he ends up gassing out, and James Krause really just butchers him on the feet. For Court McGee, we see in his last fight, he has lost to Carlos Condit. This is essentially a kickboxing match that he does lose. We can see historically, in recent history rather, it has not looked great for Court McGee. In this one, I think that Claudio Silva will be able to complete the takedowns that he wasn't able to against James Krause, and honestly maybe get one of these submissions, but at any rate I think he's going to be able to take him down, and with that I think Claudio Silva is going to take this fight. Yancy Medeiros versus Damir Hadzovic. This one looks like jobs could be on the line with it, but at any rate, we have Yancy Medeiros losing to Lando Venata. I did not love this fight. Lando kind of did whatever he wanted, whether Yancy was trying to come in, he would take damage, or Lando would kind of just pressure him. On the other end, we have Damir Hadzovic, recently lost to Renato Moicano. This was a very fast fight, as you can see, and against Christos Giagos, however you do pronounce his last name. He was able to take down Damir and control him pretty well. For this one, it's just hard for me to look past this Lando fight. Yancy just did not look great, and with that, I just can't lean him in this fight. I'm going with Damir. Sarah Alper versus Stephanie Edgar. In Sarah Alper's last fight against Jessica Rose Clark, I'm pretty sure she went for 11 or 10 takedowns, a bunch of takedowns, didn't complete a lot. Jessica Rose was able to pretty much not get taken down and be really damaging standing up. On the other end, we have Stephanie Edgar. She last lost to Tracy Cortez. Tracy Cortez definitely competed standing up, and also once it got to the ground, it was pretty much over. With all due respect, I feel like Stephanie Edgar is almost like a Jessica Rose Clark, watered down, if you will. Maybe easier to take down, less devastating standing up, I want to say. With that, I do like that Sarah Alper came in. Whoops, wrong. Sarah Alper came in with a game plan and went for those takedowns against Jessica Rose Clark. I think she may be able to have an easier time with completing them and controlling. I am leaning Alper with this one. Joshua Kolibao versus Yilon Shah. For Joshua Kolibao, we see him coming off of a draw and a loss. Not a great way to start your UFC career. This is Charles Jourdain fight had some really weird scorecards. I think it was like 30-27 to like Kolibao, and then someone else did like 29-28 to Jourdain or something, and then the third judge, I think, had a 10-8 round in there, which resulted in a tie, so they had a draw here. I tend to lean Charles Jourdain, but anyway, for Yilon Shah's side, we see that he's fighting out of China, and I kind of have a weird take for this, but these fighters out of China after UFC 261 here, it's hard for me to lean them. We see Zhu Rong, Qilang Aori, and Liang Na. They all lost they were all Chinese prospects, and it kind of went south for all of them. We see Dana Batgrill won. Interesting enough, I see that he has the Mongolian flag here, and it's all kind of, confusing just because we have like the Mongolian murderer. He's got the Chinese flag. But anyway, I'm going to fade these Chinese prospects for now. So with that, I am going to have to go with Joshua Kolibao. Justin Tafa versus Jared Vanderaa. For Justin Tafa, we see his last loss was to Carlos Felipe. I kind of think he won round 1 and 3 with this one for the split decision loss, but that's neither here nor there. On the other side, we have Jared Vanderaa. This one's kind of hard for me to look at because his whole UFC career has just been essentially being controlled for about 8 or 9 minutes. Sergey Spivak was able to just take him down and kind of do whatever he wanted, ground and pound, and eventually finishes the fight here. It's just, haven't really seen too much there. Justin Tafa seems a little more proven in the UFC, at least with a win. 2, if you consider this Carlos Felipe one like I want to. And I do respect Carlos Felipe as a fighter also on top of that. So I am going to go with Justin Tafa with this one. Rodrigo Nacimiento versus Alan Beaudot. For Rodrigo Nacimiento, we see he's coming off of a loss to Chris Dawkins, who's, heavyweight on a tear. I'm pretty sure he's got 3 finishes in the UFC so far, which is kind of interesting because on the flip side, we have Alan Beaudot, who had his UFC debut against Tom Aspinall. What a UFC debut. But anyway, he also, Tom Aspinall, that is, has 3 finishes in the UFC. So both these fighters losing to some pretty heavyweight prospects. But we do at least see a UFC win here on this side. It's really hard for me to look at these heavyweights that are essentially still getting their feet wet into the UFC, but I'm going to go with Rodrigo here. I like that he's getting these finishes as of late and does have a UFC win. He's also affiliated with American Top Team, so with that being said, I'm going to go for Rodrigo here. David Dvorak versus Rulian Pava. For this fight, for David, we see that he's on quite a tear here, and then he's got his 2 UFC wins against Bruno Silva and Jordan Espinoza. Again, Bruno Silva affiliated with Triple C there. I feel like this may be the best win between the 4 wins that both fighters have in the UFC. On the other side for Pava, we see he's got a win over Zalgas Zumagulov and Mark De La Rosa. I feel like I like David's competition a little better, at least in the win column. We have 2 tough losses for Pava. I mean, a Kai Kara France UFC debut, and then you've got to fight Roger Bontorin. I mean, I guess he was, essentially undefeated coming into the UFC, but still, at any rate, I'm going to go with David here. I like him to be able to cause pressure standing up and, control, land some nice counters. We did see that at least in some of his recent fights. I'm going to go with David here to get another unanimous decision to continue his UFC win streak. Felicia Spencer versus Norma Dumont. I mean, honestly, besides Valentina Shevchenko, Felicia has only lost to MMA GOATs in MMA. We have Amanda Nunes, Chris Cyborg. Those are her losses in her professional career for MMA. And then she has a grappling loss to Amanda. Looks like if your name is Amanda, you may have her number. All jokes aside, we see a win against Megan Anderson, who recently fought for the belt. And this was, not that long ago. Now she fights Norma Dumont, and this was a short notice fight against Danielle Wolf, but Felicia Spencer, again, has only lost to what I would consider the MMA GOATs for the female side of things. I'm not ready to just throw Norma Dumont in that type of conversation. Also, this kind of was I don't know if it was a short notice fight, but I think she's a replacement, so that could definitely affect things too. Is she going to be in fighting shape? If you want to do MMA math here, she's got a loss to Megan Anderson, so we'll see how this goes. I am leaning Felicia Spencer. Xiaonan Yan versus Carla Esparza. Sorry about that. Yan is slowly taking names in the UFC strawweight division. We see wins over Angela Hill, Carolina Kowalkiewicz, and Claudia Gadela. And these are all unanimous decisions. I mean, she definitely is very oppressive in these fights. She looks very strong and powerful for the division, very active, and she looks like a dog in there, like she wants to win, etc., etc. On the other side of things, we see Carla Esparza. She's coming off of a lot of wins in her own right, although I have seen just from folks talking online that the Marina Rodriguez fight and the Michelle Waterson fight, not everyone necessarily agrees with those decisions. Really, all I'm trying to say there is Yan seems to be beating her opponents in more of a dominant and decisive fashion. In this most recent fight for Carla Esparza against Marina Rodriguez, I do know that takedowns played a part. I do not think she's going to be able to take down Yan nearly as easily as she was able to take down Marina Rodriguez, if at all. I like Xiaonan Yan here. She just looks really strong and offensive and aggressive. I like her in this strawweight division. She is on a tear. Last but not least, we have the main event, Rob Font versus Cody Garbrandt. A little bit of history for Font. We see he's coming off of this win against Marlon Moraes. He did see a little adversity. Marlon Moraes was going for those takedowns, which was a little unusual for Marlon. But in the end, Rob was able to get back to his feet and get the knockdown and finish the fight. For Cody Garbrandt, he's coming off of a sick highlight reel of a KO against Rafael Assunção, where he's backed up against the cage and just hits the nastiest. I think it was just like a right hook on the man and knocks out Rafael Assunção. Now, I feel like Cody definitely has the edge in speed and thus power. And by that I mean if someone's going to land that glancing blow that you don't see coming, I think it's going to be Cody here. For Rob, I feel like he's got the advantage in reach, and I think I can see him kind of hiding behind the jab and, just trying to control the pace of the fight that way. Now, Cody's very fast, so we'll see how that does go. Cody, I feel like his paths to victory are kind of like KO or wrestling. Again, we see Marlon Moraes complete those takedowns. We haven't seen Cody wrestle too much, so I'm curious how that will go. In terms of getting a KO, Rob Font hasn't really been KO, and he's also just got a very long reach compared to opponents that Cody has had before. I feel like that reach and Rob's ability to kind of hide behind the jab is going to affect Cody's ability to leg kick as well, which I know he really likes to do. So, all of this being said, it's kind of hard for me to lean Cody Garbrandt, so I'm going to go with Rob Font in this one. I could see Cody squeaking out a decision, I think. If someone gets tired here for some reason, I see it being Rob Font, but I'm afraid that we're going to see one of those crazy brawl exchanges, and I think Rob's going to land clean. I don't know, but I'm leaning Rob Font for this one. Thanks for watching the video. Feel free to leave a thumbs up or a thumbs down. Leave a comment and tell me what you thought about it. According to YouTube, over 90% of you guys that are watching aren't subscribed. That's really the most helpful thing you can do for me, so I would appreciate it a lot if you could hit that subscribe button. As always, if you like talking fights, you can hit me up on any other platforms, but that's all for me for today. I will see you guys Saturday. Peace.